Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm super excited to bring you this really cute purse that I made out of the scraps that were on the back of this jean that I used for the other bag. So this is going to be a cute little pocket purse. It doesn't have a zipper, but you can always add a zipper. For me at the end I decided to add a snap, but you'll see that later. So let's jump right in. So first, I was really debating between these three fabrics because they're so gorgeous. I ended up going with the blue striped one, but you can choose whatever fabric you want to use for the lining. So, yeah. So the first thing I'm going to do is make an inch around the entire pocket. That's going to count as my seam allowance. I'm not going to use the whole thing, but I just wanted to create a little bit of wiggle room. This is going to be the outside of my pocket, one of the main focuses. So if you want a little more space on the outside of your pocket or no space, you would actually make it bigger or smaller. But I used 1 inch all around. Then I'm just cutting the access from that. And this is going to be the front of my bag or the back of my bag if you want to look at it that way. But this is just one piece and I do need two, right? So the next thing that I'm going to do is go in and find a spot on the extra scrap jean and place that pocket. I try to place it somewhere really cool. Like I wanted to include the other version of the pocket as well. I thought that was unique. So that's me just tracing the first little pocket that I cut out. And notice how I'm cutting around. And I'm going to leave the loop in. I cut under the loop because I'm actually going to use that to hold my keys at the end, and I'll show you that. But yeah, this is the outer part of the handbag that we'll be making. So now we want to go in and actually cut the lining. So for the lining, as I mentioned before, I chose the white and blue stripes. I just think it looked a lot better. But maybe next time I'll use a pop of color. But for this demo, I'm just going to pin it down. I pinned it towards the edge just so I save as much fabric as possible. And it's doubled here. So it's double layered. So I'll get both sides of my lining by just cutting it once. Work smarter, not harder. So take your time with cutting around the lining so that it's the same size as your outer fabric. Just trimming off a little bit here. So I removed my pins and now I want to show you how everything looks lined up so you can make sure you have everything correct. So you should have two pieces of lining and then two main fabrics. So both pockets for me at this point are still fully functional, and at the end they will be as well. We're going to place right sides together and we are going to sew everything together. So to start off, we only want to sew in this U shape and leave a hole open in the actual lining part. So the striped fabric, we want to leave a little hole in that when sewing around, and that's just because we want to be able to flip it inside out. So now I'm on the sewing machine. I'm going to start with my outer fabric. I'm going to place right sides together and I am going to stitch around in that U. So I'm doing about 5/8 around because I want a little space outside of the pocket. And I'm tucking that loop in that I kept at the top because I don't want to actually sew that by mistake. So don't forget to back stitch, very important. That locks the stitch in. And I'm actually pivoting when I get to a point so that it is, a little straighter when doing the stitch and there's no curve. There's a sharp point there. So now we're going to do the same thing with the lining. We're going to stitch all around and make sure we back stitch in the beginning and at the end of the stitch. Also, quick reminder, make sure you leave a little hole in the fabric just so we can flip inside out, okay? So now we're going to take an iron and just press the seams open, just because I like it to look really crisp. So we're gonna press open all the seams. The next thing we want to do is make sure we have a strap. So I chose to do a really long strap that's crossbody. I didn't make it adjustable, I just measured it to myself. So my strap is 54 inches, so I needed 54 inches of this. I decided to go with this thicker part of the seam because it seems a little more sturdy. And yeah, I just patched those together, and then I pinned them on the sides. Excuse me. I pinned them on the sides of the bag, the outer part of the bag, and I'm just going to stitch them down before I stitch everything together. So now I'm just going to clip off any of the extra, and now we have both pieces, and I want to stick right sides together and put the lining into the main fabric just like this. And then I'm going to go around with clips, just because clips holds it a little better at this point, and I'm going to clip around the top of the bag. At this point the handle is inside, just as a reminder, so the sides are a little thick. And you can notice that I'm taking that little loop and I'm just going to kill two birds, one stone, fold that and make the loop, and then pin that down. So when I'm sewing around, it'll form the loop that I'm going to use for my key. So once you have everything clipped, you can go in and stitch around. I'm just going to put one more clip here, just so it's a little bit easier. And let me clip away the threads really quick just to make sure everything's clean. And then we're going to sew straight around. Let's go. So here I'm just sewing around the top of the bag and locking everything in. Back stitching in the beginning and the end of the stitch like we usually do. And at this point I do have that little hole in the inside of my lining because that's what we're going to turn out next. Just so you remember, the top of this bag is being closed fully. And I'm so excited because the two pockets that are on this bag are fully functional. So now we're just going to clip away the extra. I use my pinking shears, I know you're not going to be able to see it, but I just love how it looks. To clip down this side, it was a little thick, so it took two hands to actually clip it away, but it came out pretty nice. And this is going to make it lay a little flatter. So now you want to pull each of the sides out and clip away the threads. And then the little hole that we made here, we're just going to push everything out. You can see the strap coming out there. And we're just going to pull everything right side out from that lining hole. Look at this adorable bag, guys. And then we want to actually just stitch that hole so we can close it. Make sure you stitch the hole of the lining right after you pull it right side out, just because we don't want anything falling into the bag or we can't get it out. So now that that's done, we're going to So now that that's done, we want to top stitch the top of the bag. So my idea was the top stitch, but I actually didn't like how the top stitch came out. So you'll see me like removing a piece of the top stitch in a second. So this is me removing that top stitch that I just said. I didn't like how it came out. I decided to do a hand top stitch, not a machine-based top stitch. I just think it looked a lot better, in my opinion. So that's what I'm doing now, just threading and doing an invisible top stitch here to the top. It's just tacking it in and making it less poofy, making it look more clean cut and put together. And yeah, I top stitch around the entire top And here you can see that nice little loop that I told you about. And that's what my keys are actually going to hang down, but hang off of. So yeah, just top stitch the rim. Look how nice that looks. You can barely see it, and it just literally looks like a cutout of a jean pocket. So cute. So now I'm just going to clip away the extra threads. I was going to burn them, but that didn't turn out so well. So I'm just clipping away the extra threads that are on the handle. And yeah. I'm really excited how this little side bag turned out. Super cute, easy to make with your scrap fabrics. And now I decided to put like a snap last minute. So your snap should actually go on while you're doing the lining so you can do it properly. So the way that I'm doing it here is not correct, just because it's, this is not the proper way to do it. So my snap was actually a little loose, but I did want to put a snap in there so I can have some type of closure, and it was already too late. So I went in and added the snap this way. I used a seam ripper just to make the hole, and then I built my snap like that. So this is the final bag. Look how cute. And then I added my little button keychain that I made just for style. I just love that. And let me clip away a little bit more of it. So yeah, this is my bag. If you like the bag, make sure you leave a comment below. If you actually made the bag, I would love if you can send me a picture of it. So if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe. Bye. Thank you.